Red squirrels are indigenous to the UK and over the past few hundred years have been confined to the Highlands of Scotland, partially due to persecution, but mainly to do with the introduction of the American grey squirrel, which is what most people think of a squirrel. The main differences between a red squirrel and a grey squirrel is that red squirrels are considerably smaller, but the coat colour, they have this lovely bright gingery red coat in the summer, and it turns to a more sort of greyish coat in the winter, so they can actually look a little bit like a grey squirrel in coloration. The true original red squirrels, they say, have white tails in the summer, and the squirrels that were reintroduced to Scotland to help boost the numbers from Scandinavia, they have greyish tails. So the true Scottish red squirrels have this lovely blonde tail in the summer. It's how we identify individuals, is by the colour of the tail and maybe the shapes of their ears and things like that, and also their characteristics as well. They'll quite happily jump from one tree to another through the tiny little thin branches at the end of them. So they'll go up the main trunk, cross to the thinnest of branches and then leap into the neighbouring tree. So they can move quite well along the ground or through the canopy, so supremely adapted for their habitat. They kind of will tolerate each other, but they won't give each other cuddles and things like that. They won't sit side by side very often. So they do quite often squabble, especially where there's a good food source. So if we've put nuts out for them and they're coming and they're feeding and they're running away and caching the nuts that we've put out, they also swish their tail in anger at each other. So we can always tell by watching one squirrel if another squirrel's around by the way it just stares into the forest and sort of glares at the intruder coming in to steal its food. They scent mark the trees they urinate on the trees, and it's a bit of a messaging service to say, I'm a male squirrel, I'm here, keep away, or I'm a female squirrel and I would like to meet a male squirrel. So it's a bit like our equivalent of a social media platform. So smell is very important to them. When there's a glut of food, especially nuts, they'll run off and they'll bury them. Now, people will tell you that they remember where they bury every single nut. I would kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think they use a tremendous sense of smell to be able to smell where they've buried their nuts. They'll quite happily spend a lot of time up in the tops of the trees. They're well adapted to live on the ground and forage on the ground as well as up and down trees. Their back legs, their ankles actually swivel 180 degrees. So that when they're on the ground, their feet are facing forwards, but when they're coming down a tree, their toes are facing back up the trees. So they're so supremely adapted for going up and down trees and for also foraging on the ground. So red squirrels have been confined to the far reaches of the Highlands of Scotland mainly. So they're an iconic species up here. Everybody loves a red squirrel. In the winter they grow these lovely little cute crimped ear tufts, and they're just so pretty and cute, quite entertainers to watch and to photograph especially.